For more on extreme weather and how the world is grappling with it, Erika Fleischmann joins us. She's the director at the Oregon Climate Change Research Institute. Erika, thanks for joining us on the program. The hottest July globally on record and likely the warmest in human civilization. How did climate scientists come to this conclusion?
They have come to that conclusion both from what's often called the observational records, so the records that people have kept for about the past 150 years, and also the long-term geological records, so information from ice cores and from tree rings and from other long-term sources.
And researchers say, that a record like this was inevitable. Is this a sign of things to come?
Unfortunately, it is. The world is getting warmer, and as many people will relate to from perhaps participating in sports, you don't get warmer over long periods of time without also getting warmer over short periods of time.
International climate negotiations are made, pledges are made from many countries and companies, but greenhouse gas emissions continue to go up. Are countries doing, at the very least, the bare minimum, or what needs to change?
The world as a whole, what needs to change? So many things need to change. It would be wonderful to see equitable reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and also to see equitable distribution of benefits. The groups worldwide that have historically emitted the least amount of heat-trapping gases tend to be the groups that are being hit the hardest by the effects of climate change. And many groups would like to increase their quality of life. It would be great if they, in my opinion, if they were given the resources to do so without increasing emissions.
If you don't mind me saying, you sound a bit exasperated. What's it like working in this field when time after time records are broken and things aren't changing or pledges aren't being met? What does it feel like as someone who works in the industry?
It's hard to see the effects on people. It's hard to see the inequitable effects on people, and to recognize that that things probably will be quite difficult over the next couple of decades before hopefully things get a lot better.
So talk to us a little bit about that inequity you speak of. Obviously, for everyday folk with, a house and air conditioning, perhaps it's not nearly as hard for someone who doesn't have it. But could you just give us a bit more insight into the disparity when it comes to climate change?
Yeah, the disparities are both local and global. So if you think about local areas, groups that are traditionally have had few economic opportunities, groups that have been marginalized in various ways, they often live in the locations that are being hit the hardest by climate-related extreme events like extreme heat or flooding. They also may be the least likely to have air conditioning, the most likely to have outdoor work where it's difficult to get away from the elements. And that's reflected globally as well. Populations in areas that have few economic opportunities are living in areas that are prone to flooding or to high heat. They tend to be feeling the greatest effects, while at the same time, in many cases, having lower quality of life than other groups.
And on a daily basis, we're now being challenged to find ways to survive through temperatures far hotter than any of us have any experienced. How do our lives need to adapt to this hotter climate, not just our bodies, but the infrastructure that we depend on?
Yeah, there are a lot of ways. And again, it's important to keep in mind that the effects on any individual are both local and global. So you have the local effects for example, do you have a cooling center? Do you have access to air conditioning? Do you have access to sufficient water? But as we see time and time again, climate change affects global movements of people. It affects global movements of goods and what goods and services are available. So this is something that the effects are not only local, although there can be both local adaptation and to some extent global adaptation.
All right, Erika Fleischmann, thank you so much for your time, Director at the Oregon Climate Change Research Institute.
My pleasure.